Is there anybody out there that's willing to be on YouTube? Or maybe I should say this, is there anybody that would object? Okay, I'm gonna just start this camera and set it up over here just cause I like what you're doing, keep it going there, we'll jump in on there. One more.
I did, but then you're like strumming like you were done.
You said one more, and I was going to go one more, and then you just stopped on me. Just stop. It's not meant to get whiplash that way. Good grief. Boy, it's something. This might cross the bear. I'll tell you what. There's a fella standing right out here in the crowd. His name's Pete. Hey, Pete. I want to tell you a little bit about Pete. When I moved into an old house just over the hill here that was pretty much everybody in town said it was worthless. You ought to tear it down and push it in a hole and build a real house on top of where it's at. But I'm a little bit stubborn and like to fix up junk, so I decided to live in it. So I went there and I started living in it. And there was a guy down the road that had a building on the back of his house, and he said, well, if you need some wood, you know, because I wanted to build a garage, he said, if you need some wood, you can come tear down my building and get the wood out of it. And I thought, well, why would I want to tear down a building and then put it back together when I could just move it? So I jacked it up and I put some big 16-inch in-block beams up under it. And I knew Pete, and me and him got together, and he came over with a John Deere tractor, and we drove that thing across the ice and slid it up against the side of my house and turned it into a garage. And let me tell you, that was a hairy adventure because we spent all day on it. And there was a spot where we was at the top of the hill, and my hill was like this, and it was February, and everything was frozen. That's how we was managing to do this. We was dragging it on the ice. And it occurred to me from the top of the hill that it'd be real easy for that building and the tractor and all of us to just slide right down the hill, right down the river, you know, and that didn't seem like that could possibly work out too swell. So we started figuring out how to angleize that thing. We was angleizing it, you know, this way and that, and at a certain point it kind of got to leaning and it kind of shifted, and then it sort of looked like a half-destructed thing, you know, and somebody called it a kind of a movable junk pile at that point, but we kept at it and we got it in place. Huh? Well, it didn't have 3 walls. Did it have 3 walls, Pete? I think it had 3 walls, but we tore it loose from the side of the building. But anyway, we got it in there and I propped it up and, you know, poured some concrete under it and nailed 3 boards to it and called it the garage. And I'm talking about all that, so I talked about this. Hang on, I got a switch band deal. Anyway, the reason I was dragging that building around was because I got this old hot rod at the house. It's a 33 Chevy frame. It's boxed and stretched, got a 44 rear end in it, and a I mean, a 44 front end, a 57 Ford rear end. It's got a 47 Ford fire truck cab that somebody cut the roof off of and channeled it over the frame and turned it into a little roadster. And it has a 53 Cadillac engine in it, 53 Cadillac 331. And it had a Dynaflow transmission in it, which the Dynaflow transmission is the old automatic. It weighs about 600 pounds, and they kind of made a name for it. It's like Dynaflow, Dynaslow, basically meaning it was a pretty, not a great transmission to have in your hot rod. So I had this big old transmission that I took out so I could put something else in it, and I couldn't figure out what to do with it. So I started taking it apart, and inside of it I found this, right here. This is inside the torque converter. This is a torque ring from the inside of a 1953 Cadillac Dynaflow. Now a lot of you say that Cadillac didn't have Dynaflows, but the factory burned out when they made the regular Cadillac transmissions in '53, and they put the Oldsmobile transmissions in some of the Cadillacs, and that's where this came from. So I took this out because it was round and it looked a lot like a banjo body, and then this piece right here is a push rod out of an air compressor. And I just put it in here because I wanted it to have a handle, so I put it in the back of this so it'd have a handle. And I got this old jump neck and stuck on it. And it worked out pretty well. A little bit antique, like an old Cadillac rolling down dirt road back in 1953. I like that. You know, I've noticed music kind of reflects the age it comes from. A lot of times, like this modern music all sounds like computers, and everybody's got their head in computers, you know. But back in the 50s, all the music sounded like all the cars driving around had pins on them, you know. Just thought about that way. And before that, the music sounded a lot like what you could hear if you were driving in a horse-drawn wagon. I don't know what got me off on that. Sometimes I just take off on the tail. I'm going to stop talking and keep playing. You be thinking what we're going to do next, because I'm going to run out of steam here a little bit, okay? You got it? I'm going to play a little more, and then we'll do whatever you want to do. Okay, y'all ready? They haven't run yet. I don't know what's wrong with them. Okay, you got a plan?